There's an Aquarius Full Moon, 12th of August. Here's the chart. Look at all these angry red lines. It looks kind of aggressive and unbalanced. But if you look closer, it could look like a multi-dimensional crystal. And maybe this full moon is both. This Aquarius full moon totally depends on your point of view. And if you can go deeper and see past the turmoil, you'll see a diamond in the rough. We've got the sun over here in Leo, 19 degrees 21, opposite the moon in Aquarius. The moon is all about your feelings of safety, how you want to be nurtured, and how you process your emotions. When the moon's in Aquarius, an air sign and a fixed air sign, Aquarius doesn't really like processing emotions. It would rather detach from the emotions and just form a strategy around it. But any strategies you come up with at the moment are going to get a pounding because Saturn, the god of law, order and restriction, has cozied up with the moon. And this combo means that any of those detached emotions might come to bite you in the bum because Saturn is a harsh critic. These two together can indicate where you feel a lack of nurturing and a lack of safety. And it even puts a little cloud over Aquarius's normally social, bubbly, engaging energy. And this cloud looks like depression. It's forcing you to get on top of your own expectations and measure up to the reality you want to create. At the same time, though, Saturn loves to kick you in the head, and the self-criticism could be really magnified this moon. At the Leo new moon 2 weeks ago, we saw Uranus, Mars, and the North Node lining up in a super rare combination. It was also hard square Mercury. This transit sets off a kind of explosive new direction, forcing us into the future. Nancy Pelosi touching down in Taiwan is also part of this Mars-Uranus North Node. It's a provocative way to set a new direction. Whenever Mars and Uranus come together, there literally can be an explosion. On July 29, when they met up with the moon, space junk from a Chinese booster rocket fell out of the sky in an uncontrolled descent, and it broke up all over Borneo, Indonesia, Sarawak and Malaysia. The same day, at a Hong Kong stadium, a giant video screen crashed to the stage in front of all of the fans, seriously injuring one of the dancers performing. These two new moon events really line up with Mars, Uranus and the North Node, square Mercury. For this full moon, this transit is still active, but now Uranus is kind of supercharged because it's put in a position square to the sun and moon, making a T-square. And T-squares are really tough. They put conflict coming from all directions. Uranus wants to shake things up, and Mars wants to get things going. The North Node also wants to move things forward. And maybe this tension is enough to lift some of these clouds and the heaviness going on with Saturn and the moon. And the idea there would be to use Saturn to have discipline. Discipline your mind. Make a realistic assessment of your foundation and go about sorting it out. There's a sense of urgency that's being pressed to accept limitations for the greater good. Because these guys are in Taurus, it's affecting your baseline security. What you have. Do you feel like you've got enough? And patience is running out. Uranus has the effect of overturning the structures of power, of bursting through and creating a revolution, being kind of controversial and shocking. That makes a real temptation to overstep your boundary, to take on responsibility that isn't yours, or avoid a responsibility and a reality that ultimately is catching up with you. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and she's over here in Cancer. About there. Venus in Cancer is really nurturing and motherly and warm and affectionate and filling you with food and giving you lots of hugs. But right now, she's opposite Pluto, the god of death. And this kind of blocks the path to that nourishment that you've been hoping Venus would bring. Something isn't going your way, and you're going to have to dig deep to find a way to mother and nurture what needs mothering and nurturing by setting up some boundaries. Pluto and Venus opposite are echoing the restriction that the Moon and Saturn are showing. And it opens up a little can of bees about regrets and remorse, what could have been, what might have been, and where things are right now. Ready for change, but unable to move ahead. Have a look at the chart again. You can see how that Uranus, Mars and North Node cluster are holding in the reins, holding something back. It creates tension between the Sun in Leo, which wants to express itself wholly and with sovereignty, and that Moon-Saturn combination in Aquarius, which needs to think about how it fits in with others. Behind those red lines and all that really obvious tension, you can see those blue lines. And that's the bit that holds the magic underneath this tension. These thinner lines are little lifelines, little threads, helping you process and deal with something that's quite traumatic or in turmoil. This blue triangle down the bottom is especially helpful. We've got Neptune in Pisces, making a positive connection to both Pluto and Mars. And they in turn start helping each other. So although Mars has been really antsy in this position, for the first time in a while, it's getting support from its buddy, Pluto. This gives incredible resilience, incredible strength, and with Neptune involved, the strength comes through faith, through hope, through kindness, through helping those who are vulnerable. The strength that's required for this full moon is the strength to be able to give easily, without trying to hold on. This still has that revolutionary flavour, and during the phase of this conjunction, we've seen Sri Lanka burn down their parliament and take over the residents, and more recently in Iraq, people power revolution once again, taking over the houses of parliament because the people's basic needs aren't being met and there's too much corruption going on at those higher levels. Exposure. The Leo new moon, we also said there'd be an increase in supplies moving, and the first shipment of Ukrainian grain left the port after a really sketchy pact with Russia. Mars moves into Gemini on the 21st, and it's a really different landscape to Mars in Taurus. Mars in Taurus is brute strength. Mars in Gemini is using the mind and communication to get what you want. The pen is mightier than the sword. The thing is, Mars is going to be in Gemini for 7 months. Normally Mars is in a sign for about 6 weeks, so this one's a bit of a record. Anywhere you have Gemini in your chart, we'll really be looking at putting words into action and how you want to implement it. But don't get too excited. Mars is spending 7 months in Gemini because it's slowing right down to a retrograde on October the 31st and stays in that retrograde motion until January the 12th next year. It's not till March that Mercury will finally move into Cancer. Mars retrograde is kind of like a Mercury retrograde, except with a Chevy engine put in it. This puts in lots of talk that kind of goes nowhere, red herrings, jumping to conclusions, taking things back to the drawing board. It's really hard to follow through and set your course and focus. It also means where there was silence or no communication, you might get the conversation you've been waiting for. While Mars is in Gemini going backwards and forwards for 7 months, it'll also form a tough angle to Neptune. And then later on a really good one to Saturn. And these dates can help you know when to slow things down and let it go, and when to push harder and live up to expectations. While Mars is going retrograde, it also leaves defences wide open. And this can mean cyber attack or scams. It can make your mind restless and indecisive. So if that's what's happening, sit things out and decide to not decide. But also using words to stop reckless action. Geminis, you're in the biggest place for this, but Virgos, Pisces and Sag, you might also just have to fly under the radar a bit and let the dust settle. Be flexible with your plans and don't fall in a heap if things don't come through. Wait it out. There's really big planet energies going on with this Aquarius moon. And the last few months, Saturn has really been trying to help just monitor and channel some of that big energy. If you want to see the diamond in the rough, work hard with Saturn. Use its discipline. Own up to your responsibilities. Use its perseverance. And new shapes and new facets will start to form, even through the turmoil. I'm Merryl, and this is my mystery school. Like, follow, share and subscribe. If you'd like to know more, contact me through my website, www.merrylkey.com. Blessed be.